Welcome to the breakdown. I'm your host, Diane Rembert, avid reader, award winning literary blogger, and the founder of Diamonds Literary World, which is my footprint in the literary industry. Today, I want to talk to you about a book that somewhat surprised me because of what is going on in the world. I've just been reading a lot of historical fiction, as I told you guys before. So I decided, I had this book in my Kindle, and I decided, let me go ahead and just open it. The title was interesting. Mulatto, America's Daughter. As I opened up the book, I had no idea that I was reading the memoir of Bumpy Johnson's illegitimate granddaughter. And what was interesting about this book, okay? There's so much out there about Bumpy Johnson. If you don't know who he is, Google Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson, and you will find out a lot that he had a lot to do with. He was a crime lord, or a lot involved in drugs in Harlem back in the day, and we know that from the stories that I've seen, and I'm about to read his biography, or his wife's biography. We know that Bumpy Johnson had illegitimate children. But what was interesting is his children, his illegitimate children, were never talked about. Okay, that's one thing that Florencia, her name is Florencia LaChance, they weren't discussed. So she is the daughter of Bumpy Johnson's illegitimate son. Okay, so I don't even know if she mentioned his name, but and so she's a product of a biracial relationship, and her father left her mother. So they never say whether he's biracial or not, but he leaves her white mother to raise these biracial children. And so the mother had two older children who were white. So she moves on with her life. They struggle for a while. Things were good. She said things were good in their household. The older children, the older two looked out for the younger two, because her and her younger brother were both a product of that relationship. Until, and in her words, she says, until my mother met him. Him being her white stepfather, who came into the home. Now he was somewhat of a provider, but he was very racist. Imagine your stepfather, who is supposed to be your protector, constantly physically, mentally, and sexually abusing you. Okay, so and he was abusing the younger brother as well, but not so much. For some reason, his target was Florencia, and he didn't like the texture of her hair. He would, for the littlest things, he would physically abuse them, and then when it was all said and done, he was having sex with this girl at a very young age. And it went on for years, many years. And she somewhat took she didn't know who to turn to. But the interesting thing is, when her mother found out, she left, but then she went back. Now, I will say that the one person that these children could go to was, he put them in a school where they were like the only black children. So you could only imagine the things that they went through there. Like, her childhood was, it was heart-wrenching. Her childhood was so heart-wrenching. I really felt bad for her. At times, I had to put the book down. It was just too heavy for me, and to know that people knew, or her mother knew what was going on, but because her husband was the head of the household, she allowed certain things to happen. But I will say the stepfather was an alcoholic, which then led the mother to become an alcoholic. So on top of everything else, now you're coming from an alcoholic household, or a house where there is a an addiction to alcohol. Come to find out, his family was his family were alcoholics, but it was heart wrenching. Like I said, Florencia did manage to get away from the home. They at one point they put her in a group home as a punishment, you know, because he felt like the stepfather felt like she was unruly, and so they put her away. And the mother just agreed to this stuff. Could you imagine? Like I just can't, you know. Coming from the household that I came from, and no household is perfect. Believe me when I tell you, I had a father that served in the military, so it wasn't, and a Jamaican mother, so it was not easy. However, nothing can compare to the things that I read in this book. But she was able to leave. At one point, she went to go stay with her grandmother. At one point, she went to go stay with her aunt. And once she told her aunts what her stepfather was doing to her, they put her on a bus and they sent her to her older brother out in San Diego. Well, come to find out, things were going okay, but come to find out, he was bipolar. He had issues, and it was just a little much in San Diego. And then the sister-in-law, she started having problems with Florencia, so they sent her back home. And I felt bad because she just bounced back and forth from either a boyfriend's house to a neighbor's house. She would get her own apartment, and then here would come this other guy, and oh my gosh, like I kept saying, when does she get a break? Because every single time things started to go good, something horrendous happened. It's like for every 2 steps she took forward, something would happen to make her take a step back. And throughout it all, I kept rooting for her. She had people who were rooting for her. She went to college. She got pregnant, but the young lady, and I don't know, I don't know how old she is, but I do know I started following her on Instagram. She was determined. Throughout it all, she was determined to succeed. And she went on, no matter what happened. She was working 2 jobs, being a single mother, she did what she had to do in order to provide, because she knew what it was like to come from a dysfunctional household, if you will. And so she rose above the situation, and I'm so proud of her. I will, however, say, I hated how the book ended. She just left us there. Like, I hated how it ended. But I know that she says she continued the story in yet another book. So hopefully, time permits. You guys know I've got so many other books to read. I will go ahead and pick up the book and continue with the story. But I will tell you this: once I found out who she was, it made me push my Godfather of Harlem book up, which is the biography of her grandfather, Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson. It made me push that book up even more. So with that being said, please go check out Mulatto. I don't know, did I tell you guys the name of the book? Mulatto. America's Daughter by Florencia LaChance. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch the video. I want to thank you for subscribing to the channel, telling everyone about what we're doing over here on Diamond's Literary World. And take a minute to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Welcome to all new subscribers. I hope that you hang around and just sit back and enjoy as I go through a history of books, as I just go through this journey, if you will, and learn some things along the way. With that being said,